Today we're going to a very special section of the Camino del Norte. It's found between Soto de Luiña and Cadavedo. There are two options. One goes close to the coast, through various towns and near the road. And another, which is very different, goes through the mountains, and is basically the only mountain section of the Camino del Norte. We're going for the second option. We're leaving at dawn to make the most of the day, because we're not going to come across any towns or any services the whole day. And we're going well prepared with food and drink for the journey ahead. Let's go. We'll start our route in Soto de Luiña, a town in which we'll find various accommodation options. The Pilgrims' Albergue has been established in the town's former schools, as is typical in Asturias. We will leave the houses for a path alongside a stream and will soon reach the former national highway. We'll continue for a few metres and then go right up to a sharp ascent into the eucalyptus trees. This is the so-called Torres Slope, a taster of what we will climb today. Soon after this, we'll reach a road by the cemetery and we'll come across a fork in the road that leads to today's two options. We've reached the fork. Remember, if there's fog or rain, the coast is a better option. Today the weather is great, so we're going through the mountains. We start the ascent via the traditional Camino de Las Palancas, a route once used by nomadic shepherds known as vaqueros. It's the official Camino del Norte, and it's very different to the other stages on this route. As we are ascending, we'll ascend around 500 metres over the next 10 kilometres. Bit by bit we go up through a chestnut and eucalyptus forest. To our left we'll soon glimpse the sea, plus the towns and valleys we would have passed on the Bolotas variation. After 2.5 kilometres of hard ascent, we reach a flat area. In fact, the whole ascent is staggered. We'll have other sharp ascents at kilometres 4, 7 and 9 from the fork in the road. This route was once used to avoid crossing up to 8 streams on the Bolotas variation. The accumulated ascent is not that different. With so many streams, the total ascent via Bolotas is 600 metres, compared to 800 for Las Palancas. And Las Palancas is shorter, 18 kilometres compared to the 20.5 that separates Soto de Luiña from Villademoros via Bolotas. We should pay attention at crossroads, as we won't always be going along the main road. In any case, the signage is very good. If we don't see a sign for around half a kilometre, it means we're lost. Some small variations are also marked as the Camino de Santiago. They diverge from the main Camino, then rejoin it later. Due to infrequent use, these variations may be covered by ferns. We should always be aware of where we are using the map on the app. On the upper part of the route, the wood disappears, and when the weather is good, the sun can be very strong. A gas pipeline will accompany us along some of this section, and we will also reach a road by which we'll get to Silvescura, where we'll come across a couple of old houses. Right at this point we will leave the municipality of Valdez behind and enter Cadavedo. We will continue along this road for 2 kilometres. Careful, because we may find yellow arrows that invite us to descend to the towns, like at the crossroads at which we left the road behind. They are alternatives in case we are fed up with Las Palancas, but they will make our day longer. Little by little we are nearing the Paradiel Peak. Near the antenna that's found close to its summit, we will cross a path. We'll go through a gate, and at this point we'll start the descent towards Villademoros, taking in spectacular views over the sea and the coastal towns. We've already done the hardest part of this little walk stage. The fear of getting lost or that the vegetation has covered the path means we won't find any pilgrims here. The majority go via Bolotas. Furthermore, you can't come this way if there's rain, fog or wind. And, as we've seen, there are few houses, no fountains and even fewer places to buy food and drinks. There is very good signage, but it's essential to take a map with geolocation, such as that offered by the Buen Camino de Santiago app, in case we get lost at a crossroads. The descent is different to the ascent. It's easier, more consistent, and is now marked with yellow arrows too. We will go by the walls of various upland meadows, those pastures that the vaqueros who pass by this route would use for grazing. We'll end by entering the pine forest that will lead us to the neighbourhood of San Pelea. From this point, all that's left is to carry on along the path, where we might encounter the odd mudflat. Finally, we'll arrive at the road, which will take us over the motorway, and then we'll rejoin the other variation of the Camino del Norte in Villademoros. And we're done. Right here is where the two variations meet, the one coming from the mountains and the one coming from the coast. As you've seen, the Las Palancas alternative is very good and interesting under certain circumstances. Buen Camino.